Okay. What do you think needs to change in the military, if anything? How so?
What needs to change in the
Yeah.
military? I think the military, the constant problem the military has is trying to define and understand what the priorities of the military are. So, like, what's the overall objective and goal of the military? Is it homeland security and like national defense? Is it having more of like a large international presence? Those things have a direct, dictate, correlate what type of people you need, how much money you spend, training and equipment and all that kind of stuff. So I think the military needs to decide what their purpose is.
Okay. What a usual day look like for you in the military?
Usual day for me, if it was stateside, so not on deployment or whatever, was more or less, it was like a, 7:30, I think is when I had to be there, 7:30 to 5 kind of thing, 7:30 in the morning, 5 p.m. type deal. Usually it was always like first 2 hours, so 7:30 to 9:30 was PT or workouts, depending on the day or depending on time of year. I was stationed in upstate New York, so we'd be outside as much as we could, weather permitting. Obviously, crappy weather in upstate New York, lots of snow would push us inside. But 2 hours of calisthenics, usually we do a lot of CrossFit workouts, a lot of dudes are CrossFit trained. Days when weather's really bad or to alternate things, we do like a ruck march, which is basically like 100 pounds of gear and then a certain amount of distance. Might be 4 miles, might be 8 miles, might be 12 miles, might be 20. It just kind of depends on the day and whatever the plan. Usually there's like training plan, right? Like if you're getting ready, what we call the workup, or you're working up for a deployment, everything would be incremental. So kind of like how you do for baseball, for sports and stuff, where like early on in the season, your training is for certain things. Towards the end of the season, or like towards the end of, before the season starts, you're kind of like working towards certain goals. So morning workouts would be geared towards that. So if we're getting ready to deploy or we just come back from a deployment, workouts would be different. But 2 hours, 7:30, 9:30 was always workouts. And then, from there, 9:30 to usually like noon or to like 11:30 was some kind of training itself. It might be working with maps, it might be learning a new radio, it might be learning a new like laser pointer or some other kind of equipment. Then you go to lunch, and then after that would be some kind of outside field type of training. It might be land navigation, it might be running the obstacle course, it might be medical training, CPR training, it might be going to the Green Berets, doing some work with them, it might be going to the Rangers, doing some work with them. So it all kind of depends. But again, a lot of it, if we're getting ready for deployment, would be training towards a specific, like getting familiar with the tactics the enemy's using, or learning a new piece of like aircraft that we're going to be talking to. So, but I'd call it a normal job for the most part, in that 7:30 to 5, and then after that I was going home and I was going to, there was a Sam's Club up there, so if I had to get groceries or whatever, I was usually do 2 workouts a day. So a lot of us would go to the pool afterwards, or go get some second kind of workout in the unit gym or whatever. So more or less a normal job until like when your duty hours are over. Then you're like on the weekends, guys are going. We were stationed near Syracuse, New York, so guys are going into Syracuse, guys are going to Canada on the weekends, go to a movie, that kind of thing.
What was it like to put that training into action?
Frustrating at times, because like a lot of times the training we had based on like the rules of engagement, basically like the legal aspect of like what I can and cannot do, my hands were often tied as to like what's acceptable during like the various stages of the war. So a lot of frustration, right? Like you train, most jobs, mine is one of those where you train to kill people, ultimately to drop airstrikes and things like that. And so when the war is in a place where we're not doing a lot of active dropping of bombs and dropping of guns and stuff like that, it turns into lots of like getting shot at, getting into combat, knowing that ultimately I can't do what my job is. So it gets frustrating after a while, but I think wearing the American flag on my sleeve was one of the most proud moments of my life.